Foodland Ontario reminds you to make it local. Look and ask for Ontario potatoes when you shop. Good things grow in Ontario, paid for by the Government of Ontario.
Sportsnet 590, The Fan.
Powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. A reminder, we are streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and also airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. I am joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. The Raptors are back in the winning ways, and the show is, back to normal. Like, usually the tone of the show is pretty positive. It's been a grim few weeks or whatever, but beat the Spurs last night, 119-104. Alex, you're back. What's going on? How you feeling?
What's up, man? I haven't talked to you in a few days. It's good to have some time away from you, but now we're back. And
Okay.
yeah, you're just making a face at me.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited to talk to you. Raptors won. Vibes are good.
Mm.
I know you've been trying to change the vibes all week.
I've been forcing it, really. Like the Raptors on offense while they were losing. But, better result yesterday. And we have actually good things to cover on the show today.
Yeah, we have Fred VanVleet's return from injury yesterday. I'm making the push for Fred to finish top 12, I want to say, in MVP voting, because I feel like looking at a game like yesterday and looking at the games that they lost while he was out, Fred, it's got to be one of the most top 10, top 12 most valuable guys in terms of what he's bringing to the team. And we saw yesterday he had 26 points and played only 34 minutes. This is just the 9th time this season that he has played less than 35 minutes. And even though the three wasn't falling early, feel like he was just able to bring so much on both ends of the floor. What did you see in Fred VanVleet's return to action yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think, honestly, when you look at the advanced stats, there is that case to be made for Fred. I mean, obviously, when you look at it, he's not one of the top, 12 most talented, best players in the league. I think we can all admit to that. But I think it's just sort of like the importance of what he does for the club, right? Because you'll see it. It's not just in the sense that, you missed his skill set, his ability to get into the paint, create for others, his ability to score, his three-point shooting obviously is really vital on this team. His defense is really good, but it's also when he makes plays. And I thought yesterday, the crowd being in San Antonio, I thought it was going to be a really good atmosphere considering the fact that there's a lot of fans in that building in anticipation for the fact that Greg Popovich might, set the new record for wins for a head coach, right? He was tied with Don Nelson heading into the game. So the crowd was ready to celebrate, right? And what did Fred do immediately? He got off to a great start, got the Raptors out front, and forced the Spurs into calling the first timeout, and kept the crowd out of the game, right? Like, that's a game where you could easily sort of spiral out of control based on the emotions in that game. And then, when he checked out, and the Raptors actually were smart about this, they rested Fred for 2 separate periods this time in this game. So they changed up his rotation. So before he got injured, he was obviously leading the league in minutes, playing like 38 a game, which means he's sitting about 10 minutes per game. And the minutes that he was sitting was he would play the entire first quarter and the entire third quarter, and then he would sit the first, 4 or 5 minutes of the second and of the fourth quarter, right? That was his set rotation pattern, 2 breaks per game. The Raptors doubled that to 4 breaks now, right? So yesterday, for example, he came out of the game in the first quarter, didn't play the full first quarter, left the game with about 5 minutes left in the first, then returned at the start of the second quarter. But then he also hit the bench after about an 8-minute spell for about 3 minutes and then came back in to close the quarter. Same deal in the second half as well. So they've introduced more rest periods. But you can also tell that in the times where he did rest and go to the bench, there just wasn't as much continuity to what the Raptors wanted to do. And a lot of the times when Fred was coming back into the game, he would have to make momentum-shifting plays to get control back for the Raptors. And I thought that's what he did really a good job of, not only to get the Raptors off to a good start, but when he returned in the second quarter, he went on a personal run there where, he was getting to the basket and he was scoring. And even when he wasn't scoring, he was getting to the rim for opportunities where Chris Boucher could follow up for the tip-in for an and one. He was just making a lot of big plays. The Spurs go on a run. He pulls up for 3, right, in the third quarter, right? The Spurs, they started that third quarter well. The Raptors had to call that first timeout. And the guy who breaks the deadlock for the Raptors, and the Raptors offense will go like 3-4 minutes without scoring a basket. Like, you hear that from Matt Devlin every single play. Every single game, you'll hear that, contact, no call. You'll hear, from Saskatchewan or something like, there's some certain things that's what Matt will say, but that's one of those things. Oh, the Raptors haven't had a field goal in the last 3 minutes and 41 seconds, right? And then you need someone to break that deadlock. And I thought Fred coming back, was willing to take those big shots just in the way that you expect him to. And I thought in that third quarter where the Raptors really turned it around, that whole run started with Fred crossing over on the perimeter and pulling up for three. That stopped the Spurs run and got the momentum back for the Raptors. And so, look, there's a lot of contributions across the board last night. It wasn't just about Fred, but I thought he did the most important things in terms of leading the team. And, as I keep saying about Fred, he's the adult in the room. And the Raptors are really young, right? There's a lot of moments where, you're not really sure what they're doing. The team's not really sure what they're doing. But Fred comes in and is like, this is what the offense is going to be, and this is what we're going to do defensively, get the team organized. And then the rest of the players to sort of play their roles more comfortably. I think you really missed that sense of order and structure when he was not there.
Yeah, and I almost feel like it's as simple as when they're down by say 5 points or 7 points in a game and they just need a basket or they just need someone to kind of calm the situation. Like Fred's the one that's going to get them organized, whether it's him getting his own basket or, like you mentioned, setting teammates up. Like, I was impressed with the fact that he got to the line a team high 10 times last night, and it was 9 for 10 from the free throw line. The Raptors as a whole, 26 of 28 from the free throw line.
That might be their best free throw performance all season.
Yeah, because low-key, they've been
bad.
A bad free throw shooting team. That's
yes.
why, when they're down 12 points, it is a 12-possession game. Now, looking at some of these other stats too, Pascal was able to get 20 points, and I definitely want to talk about Scotty as well separately. Gary, hit 2 3-pointers, 5 of 13 from the field. When you look at Fred coming back and, like you mentioned, giving them this structure and giving them this order, who are the guys, do you think, especially in the starting lineup, that benefits most from having Fred back and playing these minutes?
I mean, it's hard to just pick one guy. I think the guy he doesn't have the most direct impact on is Scotty. But I think there's a clear synergy that he has with Pascal. I think the fact that you can see the two-man game returning of Fred and Pascal running pick and rolls, whether it's Pascal handling and Fred screening or Fred handling and Pascal screening, there's a combination there. There's a comfort there that they played together 6 years, G League, NBA championship, playoffs, every sort of scenario you could think of. Probably played together Summer League, actually. So, they've literally done this for a long time. There's a synergy there. I think it really helps Pascal because it's yesterday's game for Pascal. Yes, he had 2 or 3 self-created baskets, as you would expect him to do, where he posts up, drive, flip shot, or whatever, right? But you also saw a lot of Pascal getting offense within the team flow, which is something that hasn't happened for him as much without Fred in the lineup. He's had to create everything. He's the point guard. He's initiating the play. So it's easier for defenses to load up for him, and it's also harder for him to score these individual baskets. Whereas when you see the game yesterday, Pascal gotten out in transition, made 2 buckets there, had 3 catch-and-shoot threes. So that right there for you, that's more than half of his scoring just off that alone. So I think that is when Fred returns, Pascal can just sort of finish plays a little bit more, and that helps his efficiency. Definitely, I think it helps Gary. I think the top defenders are always going to guard Fred, right? Usually, the opposing team's going to have one really good backcourt defender, and so they're going to put it on Fred, who's a better player. That allows Gary to get more opportunities. I think also just his defense generally gets other guys in transition, which helps everybody. But I think those 2 guys, for me in particular, is got easier opportunities. So say Scotty kind of just Scotty's his own thing. Right, and maybe we can get to that because I thought that is just the most fun part about watching Raptors games is when Scotty decides, I'm the man. I got this. Yeah, that's Jakob Poeltl. Who's the biggest guy on the Spurs? Oh, Jakob Poeltl? Okay, let me just seek him out, start of the third quarter, cross him up a few times, spin, floater with the left hand, bank it off the glass, finish. So it's that's your best defender, that's your biggest defender. Well, if I can score on him, I can score on everybody else on that team. And that's kind of the mode that Scotty was in this whole second half. I thought he was awesome. I give him the first star on the Reaction podcast, and I think he deserves it. I think when he chooses to take over, he actually, for a young guy, really does have that ability, and that's really impressive. You don't see a lot of young guys with the ability to control the game like that, but Scotty did that last night.
Yeah, and especially for a team that's so starved for offense all the time. We've talked about their 3-point shooting. We've talked about all the droughts that they go on every game. Scotty yesterday, I think, he had 2 field goal attempts in the first half. And then with the Raptors trailing by double digits, looking like the game was going to slip away early there in the third, he really took control of the game, finished with 20 points, 8 of 12 shooting, 8 assists in 34 minutes. You mentioned, because I know you love listing the bags of these different players, starting with Malachi Flynn on Media Day.
Okay.
Like, tell me about, like, Scotty's bag, because, like, when I look at him in the post, right, like, it's not just he's going to, like, one or two primary moves. Like you mentioned, like, he's using both hands. I think he gets really creative down there. And the most impressive thing, too, like, we've talked about how strong he is. Like, he's usually able to just outmuscle these guys and get his own rebound, too. Like, so many of these opportunities, he's creating more than one just for himself. Like, I know we've talked about this a lot, but, like, man, like, how advanced can Scotty's game get? Like, even heading into, like, say, next season? Because it feels like there's so much there already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the bases and the tools are really there. It's sort of like, obviously, if you can get the jumper going, that will really, really help. And we've seen that kind of come and go at the start of the year. He was really making a lot of those mid-range pull-ups. Nowadays, you don't see those as much. You saw for a stretch of the season, he was hitting a lot of catch-and-shoot threes. You're not seeing those as much. But I think primarily his bread and butter is going to be this ability to get downhill, because Nick actually gave a really good quote about this in the postgame, because a lot of the focus of the questions postgame was about Scotty and his ability to score. And I think Aaron Rose of SI asked Nick about, why is Scotty able to sort of like score so consistently, even against bigger guys in the post? And the answer Nick gave was really clever. He said, it's not easy to guard Scotty, even just beyond the fact that he's strong, beyond the fact that he's got these long arms, beyond the fact he's got good touch. Guys aren't blocking his shot when he drives down there because he changes his release point a lot. You'll have like herky-jerky moments where you can't fully anticipate which moments he's going to go up for the shot, right? So you'll see him go a little early. You'll see him go a little late. You'll see him go through guys. You'll see him put it off the glass. You'll see him go up with the left quite a bit for a guy who's right-handed. He loves to go with the left hand, and obviously he can finish with the right as well. That's his preferred hand, but I think there's just a lot of craft in sort of what he does. And I think for me, the other thing that's really clever about Scotty is, for a wing guy, he doesn't actually have to jump all that much to get his shot off. He really does a lot of these like little hook shots where he's only like, maybe he's either even standing on the ground with both feet, or maybe like just like a slight jump off into the air. He doesn't really have to like really separate to create that, to get that shot. And I think the combination of that is just, he can really drive it and drive it and drive it. And I think for him, it's just, can you manage your intensity? Can you manage your energy so you can do it over a consistent period? Because other thing that stood out to me was, okay, so he was balling for that third quarter, right? He had 5 baskets, got fouled at the rim another time. So 12 points right there for Scotty. But then with 4 minutes left in the third quarter, he was pointing to the bench like, I need a breather, And so can you get that in a more sustained fashion? Because you'll see this for like a quarter, maybe a quarter and a half at a time. Can you see it just more often? And whether that's the team calling more plays for him, that's one thing. But I think mostly it just comes down to Scotty taking his moment and realizing that, like, look, I know there's talented guys on the team, but he has as much of an ability to create a good shot against a half-court defense as a lot of these other guys. And that's really impressive to me. But that's where he is as a rookie. Like, what did Fred say after the game? He called him a star, and it's our job to help him. Like, it's not like the whole team has to service Scotty above all else. But, like, when he's going like that, you saw Pascal, he wasn't really involved in the offense that much in the second half. Doesn't need to, because Scotty was doing it, right? And Fred, obviously, Fred was carrying them in the first half, 21 points, only had 5 the rest of the way. Didn't need to. The rest of the team was sort of stepping up, and I think that's where you look at the Raptors. This is not a team that has, like, one clear-cut star. This is a team that needs to play together as a group, have multiple guys who can create, and that's what we saw yesterday. A really nice team win by the Raptors, and thank God, because again, these days we're getting a little dark. I'm just saying.
No, we're coming out of the darkness, man. And you know what we need to do as the weather gets better and we can go back to the park to work on the 2022 Raptors Republic 3-on-3 tournament.
Like, get 8 points this time, not 6.
You like to operate in the low post as well, and I feel like maybe you should study some of Scotty's tape, and maybe we can see some of those moves at the tournament. Because I know you like to settle for that little elbow jumper, a little Tim Duncan type action. But I want to see you down there, the lefty floater, maybe like, mix up your bag a little. So let's make that a goal for this summer.
Yeah, that's not a bag for me. For me, it's that drawstring bag, the ones that you get.
No, you're in your fanny pack.
Yeah,
when you punt the ball and get 6 points.
Yeah, it's one of those like tiny Louis bags that only holds like AirPods or something.
Oh, wow. Okay, here we go. High fashion Lou.
That's me.
So I guess the other question is, so we know that, when Scotty set a career high I think it was last week. I can't keep track of time now. Like Nick famously said that, hey, we didn't even run any plays for him, right, in the game. And, you know, you look at the way that he was able to score in the third quarter, and we've seen glimpses of this taking over. And you talk about like wanting to establish more of an order, especially on the offensive end. Like, should there be more of an emphasis on getting Scotty the ball? And if so, like, is that more on the coaching staff, or is that more of really just pushing Scotty to maybe not be so passive during these first halves or during the periods when you don't see him on offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of both. But I think it's more on Scotty than it is on the coaching staff, to be honest. I think, again, the nature of the Raptors offense is that, like, there are certain guys who will get the ball to initiate because, you know, they're the point guard like Fred or Pascal is going to get the ball quite a bit, right? But, like, other than that, guys kind of just, like, the ball's going to swing around. They do a lot of these dribble handoff actions. You know, they pitch it back and forth, especially when they cross half court and the transition opportunity isn't fully there. Like, there's lots of opportunities for guys to grab it and go. It's not like Scotty doesn't have the ball for a lot of the game. He just, like, is much more pass-oriented in certain aspects of the game, and that's fine. Like, I think I don't need him to, like, dominate the ball and never pass. I don't think we need that on the team, but I think that it's really just about finding the ability or finding the spots where he can go to it. And quite frankly, he should know that, like, it's not even the rest of his teammates aren't that much better than him, but it's just, like, he has that ability right now. He has a rare gift where he can just, like, drive into, like, even when on his drives, right? Pascal, I think, is, like, clearly the best driver on the team in terms of scoring, right? But, like, Pascal does it with the skill moves, with the quickness, with the spins and all this other stuff. Like, Scotty, like, he obviously has skill too, but it's just, like, he can bang into a guy and just flip it up too, you know? And I think that that's something that the other guys don't fully have. So it's really up to Scotty to pick his spots. And I think my question is just, like, look, when OG comes back, and the reports are probably, like, he's, like, what, a week away or something like that? Like, when he comes back and you have your starting five again, you got Gary, who's taking a lot of shots. You got OG, who's taking a lot of shots. You got Scotty in that arrangement along with Fred and Pascal. He essentially fades into being a fifth option role. Then you get quotes like Nick being like, oh, yeah, he's playing the Marcus All role. I'm sorry, but listen, I don't want to play in the Marcus All role anymore. I actually want to see him score. You know, like, let him for, like, 5 minutes again play the Kawhi role. You know, like, I think it might be ahead of him right now based on his abilities, but that's what this team's ceiling is going to be in the long term, is how good Scotty can get as a creator. And we're already seeing flashes as a rookie that he can really come to dominate games. We've seen that consistently since the All-Star break. His scoring's way up. He's, like, up to, like, 18, 19 points. He won the Rookie of the Month, you know, and yeah, I mean, I think he's showing you what is in his bag. His bag is deep.
Yeah, and what about, like, you know, because we talk so much about the bench struggling this season, and they came through yesterday. We'll talk about that. But what about just, like, staggering some of the minutes, so then when, say, like, Fred, you know, Pascal or Gary are off the floor because of Scotty's flexibility to be able to play point or, you know, play forward, like, getting him some run with the second unit where he's featured a bit more. Like, what do you think about that option?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Usually the Raptors would like to have one of Fred or Pascal on the floor at the same time. You see a lot of situations where he's on with Pascal rather than he's on with Fred. And I think maybe the opportunity is there to sort of shift it up where he's on more with Fred rather than he's on more with Pascal. Because I think there's a bit of overlap, right? Those guys kind of essentially operate in similar areas in the post. And if one guy's posting up, another guy's not really going to come across and try to cramp the space. Although we did see a good sequence of that yesterday where Pascal was posting up, then Scotty flashed into the post on the same side of the floor, and Pascal gave it up, and Scotty went for a quick turnaround and made the layup. Like, you know, it can work, but generally speaking, like, maybe you flip the lineup a little bit where, you know, Pascal's out there with some other groups. Maybe Pascal's out there more with Gary, and Scotty's out there more with Fred. Because I think with Fred, like, obviously he has the outside shooting ability, and he can drive too, but you know, with Fred, sometimes, you know, if those are the lineups, he can't get to the rim all the time just based on his size and also based on how the defense would want to swarm him. And that's where maybe you want to have Scotty out there more as sort of that inside-outside sort of presence. You know, it makes more sense to go with, like, Fred, who's the outside presence, with Scotty, who's the inside presence, versus having Scotty and Pascal both be the inside presence at the same time. But, I mean, look, listen, the rotations have worked consistently all season. And, again, I still think it really just comes down to, like, Scotty deciding, I can have the ball and I can go. And again, I know people, like, look at the shot attempts and think, okay, sometimes he doesn't touch the ball. Scotty touches the ball, man. He in terms of touches per game, right? Fred is at 87.6. That's obviously a lot. Pascal's at 75.5. That's a lot. Scotty's at 65. Like, that's a really high number for a rookie, especially for a guy who's not scoring all that much, especially from the perimeter. Like, It's just on him to take more shots out of those touches.
Yeah, 18.8 points per game since the All-Star break, about 8 rebounds, and shooting 60% from the field. Now, speaking of offensive development, the most reliable fourth quarter corner three shooter in the game right now has to be Precious Achiuwa. Hit 3 threes yesterday, 13 points in 21 minutes, and he's been shooting really well from beyond the arc over the past 7 games, shooting 50% from there. What did you see last night, especially not just Precious, but, you know, we got contributions from Thaddeus Young. You know, I thought Delano played well as well.
Yeah.
And we talked so much about from the Sunday game against Cleveland when they had 8 total points, all from Precious off the bench in the first quarter and then nothing else. What did you see from the bench, the second unit last night, especially when they had to go up against the zone?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Raptors had more rehearsed actions that beat the zone, whether that was, you know, finding Thad Young in the post and him, you know, surveying the floor, realizing, okay, there's not a great kick out option here. I'm just going to quickly grab it and go and get the flip shot with the left hand over, I think, Zach Collins, who, I mean, wow, he was bad defensively yesterday. But in any case, you know, I thought you saw situations where, you know, you had quick passes in and out. Scotty gets in behind the zone, into the middle of the zone, quick pass out to Delano. Delano then swings it into the corner for Precious to make the three. Like, you know, Thad getting an open three, you know, against the zone. Like, I think some of it is the Spurs. I just don't think defensively looked really all that good all game. Really, the Raptors kind of torched them throughout. But I think also part of it is just the Raptors actually had a chance to practice. And I think that that's not insignificant by any means. Like, the Raptors coming out of the break played 6 games in 8 nights, which you're never going to practice in that scenario. You might not even go through walkthroughs, right? Because it's just you how to manage your energy. And then they went on the road and they finally had 2 off days. And they were like, okay, fine, we can finally practice. And I think, you know, when they get to have this chance, obviously you got some new pieces to integrate. I mean, how many practices do you think Thad Young has had since the Raptors? Like 2, 3 maybe at most, right? So, like, you know, even for a veteran, you still need to know where everyone else is, and you sort of go through these drills. And so I'm not surprised that the zone offense looked better, especially with Fred around. But the key is teams aren't zoning that much when Fred's in the game. Teams are zoning when Fred's out of the game, and then it's, you know, Pascal and Scotty in that lineup, and, you know, obviously with Precious and Delano, there's a lot of like non-willing shooters in that group, but guys have to be willing to take shots in that situation, especially obviously if they're set, you know, with their feet set in the corner. It's like that's an easy shot that pretty much I trust everybody on the team except for Khem Birch to take. And I've even seen Khem Birch in the corner during like 5-6 in a row.
Yeah, he's got to flick it in.
It's a push shot from the corner. But to the point about Precious, I mean, yeah, his fourth quarter 3-point shooting has been surprisingly good. You know, out of just the corners in particular, he is 6 for 9 on corner threes this season. Wow. In the fourth quarter. It's pretty high.
Yeah, right? It's a huge like momentum swing too. I feel like whenever he hits that 3.
Well, because the defense is saying we'll give up this shot, and if you make the shot, the defense is like, damn, we got cooked because there's nothing we can really do then, because this is the whole thing. This is the trade-off we're willing to give. So a lot of the games kind of swing and get decided on some of these open shots where you're not expecting a great, you know, some of these shooters to make it, but they do make it. And yeah, Precious, man, fourth quarter 3-point specialist.
Yeah, no excuses though, front office. Please get at least 2 shooters.
Please, come on, man. We're joking about this, but you can't rely on Precious to shoot 47% on threes in the fourth quarter, which is what he's doing on the season, by the way.
Yeah, no, we're starving for 3-pointers right now. On a more down note, you know, Khem lost his front tooth. His just nightmare season just continues.
Yeah, it's tough.
So what was it? DeJounte Murray ran into him.
DeJounte got low, then like sprung up with a quick like stop and go move and like popped up right into Khem's teeth. Like, damn, this poor guy. The knee issue that kept him out for a month. You didn't start this training camp on the right foot. I forget what specific reason, but, you know, the knee issue. Then he, you know, had his nose broken. Then he someone ran into his nose yesterday too. Do you notice that? I was actually pretty worried
separately from the DeJounte Murray?
Yeah. I think it was in the first half. Someone bumped into his nose.
I just know he was struggling after DeJounte Murray ran into him. Like, his face looked pink. Like, I was just like, please, Khem, just put your mask back on.
Yeah, but he couldn't see through that thing.
I know, but it's been a rough year for him. But welcome back, Matt Devlin, to the broadcast.
Welcome back. Yeah, that's right.
Matt was out for a little bit, so it's good.
And Jack.
To have Devlin. Yes, and Jack as well.
Yeah. It was nice to, I mean, you know, I think the Raptors have quite a bit of depth there in the broadcasting front, but
They got more depth on the broadcast than on the roster. What's going on?
Yeah, that's true though. That is definitely true.
That's never a good sign for a team. So let's balance that out in the offseason. But listen, small goals. The Raptors will not go a nightmare 0 for 6 on this road trip.
That's right.
They got that. Just baby steps right now. Are you gonna watch the game of the century tonight with the Brooklyn Nets visiting the Philadelphia 76ers? I've never seen so much coverage for a guy who's just gonna sit on the bench tonight.
Oh, what were you talking about? We had wall-to-wall Goran Dragic coverage.
Yeah, but that's
Wait,
different.
hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
No.
This
I'm
is
not being a hypocrite.
For saying that,
No. That's for us to create content. This is not the Sixers show. Actually, I was thinking about it. You know how easy it is to do a Sixers show,
Oh my God.
especially like this season. Like, how many times do you think we would have talked about Ben Simmons? Like, you think like every day?
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
You would have gotten sick of it though. I feel like, but you don't seem sick every time I bring up Goran. So
No, I don't care about him anymore.
yeah, okay, yeah.
I used to care about him, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So by the way, last week we had a draft, our all-time Raptors villains, and
right.
the public consensus has been that Vivek completely destroyed us in the draft. Do you have a statement for that? Or
We did give him the first overall pick.
yes, because we're friendly to all our guests.
Yes, and we didn't do the snake version of the draft where first pick, then the order reverses. I don't know, man. Blake was complaining about some stuff.
Yeah, Blake wants us to do an auction draft.
Blake's mad nerdy. Yeah, anyway, so we get it.
But we are going to do another draft.
Yes,
After the break, we're going to have James Herbert of CBS Sports, who was canceled by Raptors fans for defending Goran Dragic a few weeks ago. He's going to come on, and we're going to draft. We're going to draft our all-time Raptors cult heroes, but we can explain the rules a little bit after the break.
That's right. We're going to take a quick break. I'm your host, Walu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. I continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. And Alex, what are we doing for the second half?
Yeah, so we are going to do another draft. But this time, because I know last time we did the villains.
Yes.
And you were talking about how we need to, all week you've been talking about changing the vibes a little bit. And we shouldn't always draft villains, people who've terrorized us like a Paul Pierce, LeBron James, Lawrence Frank. Who else? I can't remember.
The pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic as well, which might make another appearance in this draft. I have to decide. And I thought there was no better person to bring on than someone who's been a long time, who's followed the Raptors since the very beginning, and a former global ambassador of this show. James Herbert of CBS Sports is going to join us, and we're going to draft our all-time Raptors cult heroes today. James, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I have a couple of questions, though. How are you going to say we're going to draft the pandemic today? We're talking about cult heroes. I don't understand. Also, are you saying that you're stripping me of my global ambassadorship right now?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I think Faisal guest hosted and filled in when Will was skiing, and I just randomly tossed the global ambassadorship back to him. And I did say on the program that I didn't run it by you, and I apologize. Like, I forgot to text you about it after. So, you are the former global ambassador.
Well, I mean, you did get canceled by Raptors Twitter.
Yeah, we were gonna say, like, we can't have you representing
If
us
it was
right now.
because of that, I would understand.
Yeah, so for a bit of context, when Goran came back with the Brooklyn Nets last week, I believe, James, you sent out a tweet saying that Raptors fans should not tweet Goran, and you didn't get a very good reception. By the way, James lived in Toronto for a long period of time in his life. So
no, this guy was playing basketball with Chinese kids.
Yeah, he's part of CCYA.
I listened to that episode on the weekend.
Yeah, shout outs to Clement. But James, like, how are you recovering? Like, are you able to tweet about the Raptors? Are you still going to write about the Raptors? What's going on?
I am. I mean, I tweeted a clip of Scotty Barnes last night. I believe you both interacted with it. Will gave me a little quote tweet, and he actually pointed out that it was not just a clip of Scotty Barnes on the sideline kind of acting out what was going on in the play and being really into it. It was also a clip of Precious Achua's like amazing hustle. Yeah. So I appreciated that. But no, Raptors fans, they're not bringing it up anymore. So that's nice. And I wasn't exactly saying like they shouldn't or they can't. It was just like pointing out at the time that it was a little more complicated than just Dragic not wanting to be there. Like, I understand that he's a villain, but I think he wasn't exactly wanted here by wanted there by the front office either. And he had said that, and Nurse had just confirmed that day before the game. And I think it was a situation where the team had let fans kind of project whatever they wanted onto this by not being transparent about what was going on between them and Dragic throughout the whole ordeal.
Damn, James had a whole statement ready.
Yeah. Wow,
know, James, when you tweet, you got to take into account the entire context of everyone's lives and everyone's feelings. And if not,
I just tweeted something really flippant and short, and then I got a bunch of grief for it, and I kind of deserved it. I get it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right, yeah. By the way, Faisal's in the YouTube chat and said, James can have it. I'm good. So, James, you are a global ambassador.
Wow.
So,
all right.
Congratulations.
Oh, but now I feel like what he just did, like, that's the mark of a good global ambassador, though. So maybe he deserves it more than me. I don't even know. I'll say thank you. I'll take it. But I imagine we're going to exchange this thing a few more times over the course of the year.
Yeah. So we've got James Herbert, CBS Sports, 2-time global ambassador of the Raptors Show. So let's get into this draft. I don't know if you guys have any questions, but the way I'm keeping this pretty open in terms of like defining what a cult hero is, right? So we can draft from players. So I'm talking about fan favorites, obscure players, forgotten role players, maybe players who were only here for 1 year and won a championship. I feel like we should include that as well. Also, you can draft fans who have gone viral for whatever reason, celebrity fans, Twitter accounts, arena people that you know, people that listening have never heard of, but has been very heavily involved with the Raptors over the years. Basically, as long as you can justify and explain your pick, you can draft whoever you want. So we're going to do 5 rounds. And because Blake Murphy's not here, no snake draft, no auction. Every round, James, because you're the guest, you're going to get the first pick. Will gets the second pick, and I always get the last pick. So we are going to start round 1 with you, James. Who is your first Raptors all-time cult hero?
I'm going to pick a guy who had a brilliant 67 games in his first season in Toronto and then barely played for the team after that, but has lived on, I think, on Raptors internet lore, thanks in large part to Tas Melis of No Dunks. It's Jorge Garba.
Mm,
Raptors legend, man.
yeah, that's right. Horrible injury that ended his
Gruesome.
Raptors tenure. But wow, I mean, he was a really vital role player. People loved him. And I mean, you know what the Raptors need right now is a Jorge Garba. That's pretty much what they brought in Thad to do.
Yeah, they need Jorge Garba.
Yeah.
Would love Anthony Parker. Let's just bring back that Atlantic Division winning team. James, I was surprised because I know we had some pre-show discussions and you were gonna.
Oh wow, there's colluding going on.
No,
Damn,
well, I was
involved.
offering draft picks for someone that he was gonna select. We were talking about trade, but no, I like that to start off. So second pick goes to you, William Liu. Who is your first all-time Raptors cult hero?
Yeah, you already knew who I was going to pick for this one. This is a personal favorite of mine, Amir Johnson. Longtime Raptor, wasn't really around for the best parts, although the last 2 seasons he was here, the Raptors were winning. But original member of the Young Guns, right, along with Sonny Weems and DeMar DeRozan, was always an advanced stats darling on a team that wasn't very good. The Raptors got him in a random trade, I think, for Carlos Delfino. But most importantly, he just, really gravitated towards fans. I think, Amir, even before, the social media aspect of basketball really took off, I mean, he was just, getting out on the street. He was handing out copies of, CDs of Nothing Was the Same when that dropped in 2013 and outside of Young Dundas. Amir Johnson's just a great fan favorite. The Walk with Amir, everything like that. I think he just showed a lot of love to the fan base, and it's just too bad he had persistent ankle injuries. I'm a big fan of Amir Johnson.
Amir had a good run here. I think
really
you're
good,
right
yeah.
about injuries and things like that. But he was like a bright spot during, I would say, kind of dark days for the Raptors as they were
Absolutely.
transitioning. And I was happy for him. He obviously wasn't here for the entire run while Kyle and DeMar was here, but I was happy for him to be here to see the turnaround at the very least, because
Mm-hmm.
I know early on with the Young Guns, that was tough. James, do you have anything to add about Amir?
I remember the zombie walk.
Yes.
I remember being there the day he walked into the media room with a raptor claw died into the back of his head.
Right. Yeah, he did that.
Which
Yeah.
is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Will and I are going to do
No,
that
we're
when the
not.
Raptors return to the NBA Finals in 2025. So let's get that on record. Yeah, there's been so many, I think, too, just fan favorites that have come through.
Yeah.
And just people that have really resonated with the fan base and the city. And I think over the years, especially as the Raptors have become more successful, I think that's been such a cool part of just fan culture here in Toronto, because the players really do connect. But without further ado, it's my turn with the first pick for me of Raptors all-time cult heroes. I'm taking
The
William Liu.
Wait, hold on.
I am drafting
Hold on.
William Liu, born
Yes, great
born
pick.
in the province of Tianjin, a coastal metropolis in northern China,
Yeah, that's
on the
right.
shore of the Bohai Sea, and with a population
Why?
of
All right.
13,866 and 9 people. He came from there, came to Canada, was a basketball junkie, studied basketball, became a blogger, showed up to a Tim Lewicki event and asked him
Please don't.
why the Raptors are not building with the Kobe Bryant Pau Gasol model. And from then on, he went to work at The Score, covered the NBA championship run by the Raptors in 2019 with Yahoo Sports Canada, which culminated with him lighting up a cigar at approximately 5 in the morning where were you? Were you in Oakland or San Francisco? Where were you
Oakland,
staying?
baby.
Okay, so he was in Oakland,
Yeah, that's right.
and now he is at Sportsnet doing his thing.
Wow.
And I think just over the years, William Liu, especially with his Twitter presence, and just his voice with the Raptors Reaction podcast and 10 Things, you have become the voice of the fans. And I have seen it up close, walking with you to SVP downtown and seeing fans literally pull over their cars just to dap you up, and at the arena to take photos with you.
Yeah.
So I am taking William Liu with
Damn.
my number one pick. How do you feel about that, Will?
I mean, I
Do
feel
you
like
want that pick? I'll for 2 draft picks, I'll give you that pick.
No,
you
no,
can
no,
have
no,
yourself.
No trades.
Okay,
Trades.
okay.
Yeah, you overdrafted again, but
Okay.
it's all good. I thought you were going
Really
to say the
did.
pandemic.
You're
again.
the Lawrence Frank of this draft.
I am. I thought we were going with players, but okay, all right.
I'm sweating right now for round 2 because
appreciate you, man.
there was a
It's
clear
nice.
cut round 1 pick that I should have made. I'm really worried you or James going to take it. So we're on to round 2. James, who is your second Raptors all-time cult hero?
Okay, so this is obviously the player that you should have taken if you were going to take a player, but I respect that you took Will Liu. This guy is a 4-year college player, was sort of an unknown when the Raptors brought him in. The year before he played in Toronto, he played in Europe. He's a sharpshooter, just an absolutely incredible shooter. He's a white guy. His name's Matt Bonner.
I knew you. Well, you already told me. I'm going to pretend to be surprised.
He's been on this program too.
Yeah, Matt Bonner has been on this program. Had to cut him off because we ran out of time when he was telling this great story about getting arrested at a bank.
That's actually my favorite episode that you guys have done. That was just you guys trying to stop Matt Bonner from telling a great story because you were running off the clock. There was like real tension and drama in that moment.
Yeah, so you're taking Matt Bonner. I think Matt Bonner is a great
The Red
pick.
Rocket,
Yeah, the Red Rocket.
ETC connection.
Yeah, again, people falling in love locally.
Yeah.
And when Matt was on the program, he talked about going to dim sum a lot in Chinatown. And he also, everybody remembers when he got into that little scrap with Kevin Garnett.
Yes, that's right.
And just like endeared himself to the fans. So appreciate you, James, for not taking the other Matt. So Matt Bonner is your second pick.
I took it half because I wanted to do that intro and make you think, or at least make Will think that I might take Matt Thomas there. But half like is legit, man. I mean, he was one of the original sort of fan favorites. I mean, to get the nickname the Red Rocket because he took the TTC everywhere. Come on, man.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
you would run into him at like the Bovine in the summer and stuff like that. Like he'd be around because his wife's from there, like long after he played for the team. And I mean, he clearly still has a like relationship with the city. He still loves it. I mean, the honestly, the episode you did with him, like, I think that if you didn't know, like that kind of tells you everything you need to know about why he remains a cult hero.
Yeah, for sure. Will Liu, what is your second pick?
Okay, I feel like this is cheating in a way. Is Serge Ibaka too much of a good player
No,
to be a cult hero?
so the rules are as long as you can justify it. So you
Okay.
have to give your explanation of why he's a cult hero.
Not for what Serge did on the court, not for the fact that he was a big contributor to that championship, just off-court moments or not specifically basketball moments. I'm talking about the fact that he brought the scarf. We're talking about the fact that he brought How Hungry Are You? We're talking about the fact that he had the fashion show. We're talking about the fact that he kept getting into fights that one season. So he was just a really amusing guy, even during the pandemic, hosting those shows, the little talent shows for people. He was great, a great entertainer here, and also gave us a great interview on this show. So I'm going to take Serge Ibaka, but only for the non-basketball portions. Like I'm not taking him because he was a really good player. I'm talking about even just the off-court moments.
No, as long as you can justify it,
Yeah.
I think that is very justifiable. And I think Serge, in many ways, does embody all the qualities of a cult hero. Like, look at the connection he still has with the fan base.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's so incredible.
You had Jordy on the podcast.
Yeah, shouts to Jordy. Why didn't you take Jordy as well? So,
No, I left him for you, man.
yeah, with my second pick, I got to get this out of the way. Obviously, I'm going to be taking Matt Thomas. I feel like
Again, you're going to be watched in this draft, man.
no, Will Liu and Matt Thomas. I've got a 3-point threat. I've got a beast in the low post. Like, if we're actually playing a game, I feel good right now. But Matt Thomas, I guess I have to take some self-credit of creating this cult hero.
You did, yeah.
I remember, this was like a couple weeks after Kawhi had left, and we all remember how sad that was. And, Matt Thomas signed with the Raptors. I think a lot of fans had not heard about him. And the first stat that was floating around was that he had a 99% effective field goal percentage in Europe from 3. And, because I like to twist facts and things like that, I just decided to assume that he was a 99% shooter from 3. And I feel like that really caught on. And there was just so much excitement, I feel like, that season, not just because the team was playing well, but I think people wanted to see what Matt Thomas could do.
You also wrote a great feature about him, by the way.
Yes.
Don't undersell that portion because
Yes.
his life story is, I think he's had a long journey to get here. And if you haven't read that from Alex, go look it up. The Matt Thomas story. I think it was on Yahoo.
Yes.
It was really good, man.
Yeah. No, I was able to connect.
Classic Alex feature, yes.
No, I was able to connect with his family because that's the thing. Like, as much as we want to make jokes and kind of prop these guys up, you want to get to know them as people as well. Ultimately, it was very short-lived, his run here. But for me, Matt Thomas, look up the stats, man. He is I believe, the only player in Raptors history to have 100% field goal percentage from 3 in Game 7s because he was 1 for 1 against Boston.
God. All right, let's
in
move
the
on.
bubble. Let's move on.
Round 3.
Yeah, let's move on.
We gotta speed up a little bit. Come on.
Round 3. So James, what is your third pick?
Okay, so I've been taking Raptors from like before I started covering basketball. I'm going to continue doing that. I'm going to take Rafer Alston here.
Ooh,
He had
skip to
2
my
separate
Lou.
stints. Yeah, he had 2 separate stints in Toronto. And for a kid, I mean, I was like 16 when the Raptors signed him, but I had grown up reading Slam. I'd watched And One mixtapes. Like the fact that Skip to My Lou was actually going to be on the Raptors was like almost like too good to be true for me. And up until then, he had barely gotten a chance in the NBA. The Raptors were really where he proved himself as a professional basketball player. And he ended up having a pretty good career. And for me, like, I just remember how exciting it was to see him do his thing. And when the And One mixtape tour actually came to what was then the ACC, like he was on that tour. He showed up and he played and he got an enormous reception. I believe it was the summer after his first stint in Toronto that happened. So the people who were there still kind of considered him a Raptor at that point. Even though he was probably a free agent, but I remember being there and being so excited to see the And One to see him be a part of it. That was kind of an extra thing. But he was a super exciting player to watch for like very obvious ball handling related reasons. And he was pretty good too.
All right. So Will Lou,
Yeah.
round 3. Who is your pick? So far you have Amir Johnson and Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, I got enough players. No more players for me the rest of the draft. I'm gonna go with one of the first reasons I started watching basketball and created a lot of excitement for me when I started watching the Raptors. Chuck Swarsky. That's
Nice.
right. The salami and cheese has to come out here.
Yeah.
I think, look, listen, the Raptors have been really blessed in terms of the announcers they've had. But when I started watching basketball, it was Chuck, and a lot of games were just really boring. But he brought a lot of excitement to the team. And always, I have to salute the fact that the year Brandon Roy won Rookie of the Year, it was unanimous, except for the fact that Chuck Swarsky voted on Draft Round 90 number 1.
Yeah, I think that alone makes him a cult hero. I don't think you needed to explain
Oh my God.
salami and cheese or any of that. I feel like you should have just started with
Yeah,
that.
Bargnani averaged like 9 points, I think, and Brandon Roy had the Blazers in the playoffs with like 22 points per
The
game.
original Homer Simpson, man.
Oh,
I
come on,
respect.
man.
No, shouts to Chuck. Like people still reference the salami and cheese.
All the time.
Yeah. Damn.
It's now the salami and Svi.
Okay, we're gonna have to do this on 2 times speed as I look at the clock. So
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
in the 3rd round, I'm gonna take Alex Mckechnie because I feel like behind
Wow.
the scenes, you think about all the injuries that he's had to deal with. Remember that red string on the finger, and even managing Kawhi that season. Listen, I'm not giving Alex Mckechnie all the credit for winning the championship, but I feel like he was such an integral piece of that behind the scenes in terms of getting the Raptors to that point, especially in the championship season. And I am moving away from players as well. Actually, what I'm talking about, I took Will Lou first. So yeah, my pick is Alex Mckechnie. Yeah, let's try to run through these. Round 4, James, what's your pick?
I'm going to also, I think it's time to not take a player. So I'm going to take Drake before Drake. Samuel L. Jackson, the original Raptors celebrity fan who was at a bunch of games in their inaugural season, was tight with Isaiah Thomas, was sitting courtside, was wearing Raptors gear. Most people don't even know that he is maybe, or at least was, a Raptors fan, but I always appreciated that he was there because I was at those games with this guy.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson also has a Raptors bag in, I believe the movie is Jackie Brown. And
Yes.
yeah, he might be in my upcoming book, Prehistoric. Anyways,
What?
Will,
Okay,
what
damn.
is your 4th pick?
Ooh.
Yeah, I was going to take Drake. I mean, I think Drake fell a little too low here. I know, obviously, look, he's so famous, and it's weird to call Drake a cult hero, but I think we have to remind yourself the fact that Drake was a real Raptor fan, like, long before he really got that famous into the terms of, like, he's, like, one of the biggest artists in the world now. He's just always represented Toronto. He's done all the announcing. He's announced players for the game. He's celebrated championship. He hosted the championship celebrating party in Vegas. Obviously, all the memes and everything like that. He's on the broadcast. I mean, he even came to the home opener this year. For what reason, I don't know. But in any case, I'm taking Drake, the real global ambassador.
Yeah, shouts to Drake, man. Just online betting courtside
right,
in an empty arena.
This guy playing roulette courtside.
Yeah,
In an empty arena.
man. That's my cult hero. So with this pick, okay, I'll stick to this theme. I'm gonna take Master P. I think Master P had a very brief run here, but I think it's always
good.
going to be so fascinating that Percy Miller was wearing a Raptors jersey and played in the preseason. So Master P is my fourth pick. Last round, James, what is your final pick? All-time Raptors cult heroes.
I'll just say I love the Master P pick because there's also that DeMar connection too, which kind of brings it full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for.
This is tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Keon Clark. He
Oh,
has he has one of the best dunks, non-Vince Carter edition in Raptors history, and I remember it vividly over Sean Bradley on a national TV game, which that was at a time where the Raptors didn't have like a ton of those, or at least it was like early to the experience of it because it was the Vince years. But he was at the time like a super weird player. Like at that time, there were not a lot of like centers who were that skinny, but he managed to get it done, and he was just like, I don't know, like I'd never kind of seen anybody quite like him. And I was back in the day, I was big into the Keon Clark experience.
No, I love that pick. All right, Will, your final pick.
I'm so excited I got this guy. A fan.
Okay.
Not you, not me. The what about the Rosen guy? That's right. I know him. I've talked to him. Courtney Swan. I've had him on the podcast like years and years ago. The show doesn't even exist anymore. But the what about the Rosen guy? I mean, it's... Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, you got to go see it because you got to ask, what about the Rosen?
No,
classic. This guy probably
classic.
saying, what about the Rosen right now when you're talking about the MVP race? So,
Classic clip.
What
All
about
right.
DeRozan for the cult hero draft? What about him?
that's right.
Yeah.
Can't believe he got in the 5th round here.
All right. This is the final pick. I got pandemic. No, I'm not gonna do
Don't
pandemic.
take the pandemic.
Please no.
I was gonna do Keyshawn. No Keyshawn. Shouts to Keyshawn though.
Shouts to Keyshawn.
Shouts to Marie Holloway. Man, this is tough. You know what? I'm gonna take Masai Ujiri.
What?
Yeah. How is he not a call hero?
I don't know, man.
How is he not a call hero though? What is his stature too big? Like
That's what a called hero is.
No, but
yes,
but Masai has assembled a cult of Raptors fans who follow every word that he says. Yeah. And I think whenever he delivers a press conference, we have talked about this over and over again, nobody galvanizes and inspires the city the way that he does. So I want him to do a repeat of his F Brooklyn before the play-in game on April 12th against the Brooklyn Nets and Goran Dragic. So
this is a yellow card for me.
Yeah, no. Give me the yellow card, but I'm taking Masai Ujiri.
I mean, to be fair, the rest of the team
was thinking
sucks,
about
so.
like
Come on, man.
I was thinking about like
I got
I was
Matt
thinking
Thomas.
about Bebe and like the Bleacher Creature and Biombo and Jamario Moon.
Look,
and you're
we
out here
need round
picking
two,
Masai
actually.
Ujiri.
I think
we can do way more.
We need a second round. We need the Mark Tatum version of this draft as well. So
Let's do it.
But before we go, quickly, James's team, Jorge Garba, Hosa, Matt Bonner, Rafer Alston, Samuel L. Jackson, Keon Clark. My team, Amir Johnson, Serge Ibaka, Chuck Swarsky, Drake. And what about the Rosen guy? Alex's team is me, Matt Thomas, Alec Mckechnie, Master P, and Masai Ujiri. And this was the cult hero draft. So, James, thanks for joining us on this show. Does listen for us today. I'm your host, Willu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review our show. Thanks again to our producer and co-host, Alex Wong, to our guest, James Herbert, our board producer, Danielle Furtado, and Jennifer Olnick for helping us behind the scenes with the YouTube stream. I'll talk to you soon.